I'm Katie Couric. House Speaker Dennis Hastert steps up and says he's sorry, but he's not stepping down over that congressional page scandal, while 3 separate investigations are launched. Hewlett-Packard's ousted chairwoman surrendered today to face criminal charges, but not before she sat down with Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes for an exclusive interview. They could save your life. A new study shows just how effective side airbags are in a crash. And an American Marine on a mission to rescue his best friend.
This is the CBS Evening News with Katie Couric.
Hi, everyone. House Speaker Dennis Hastert quoted Harry Truman today and said the buck stops here in the congressional page scandal. But he insisted he did nothing wrong and he is not stepping down. At a news conference, Hastert said he's deeply sorry for what happened and reiterated he did not know the suggestive nature of those instant messages between Florida Congressman Mark Foley and congressional pages till last Friday. With criminal investigations already underway, the House Ethics Committee has opened its own investigation, preparing dozens of subpoenas. Gloria Borger begins our coverage.
After a week of finger-pointing among House Republicans, Speaker Dennis Hastert today finally pointed another finger at himself.
I'm deeply sorry that this has happened. And the bottom line is that we're taking responsibility because ultimately, as someone has said in Washington before, the buck stops here.
Privately, Republicans say that Hastert's mea culpa was the very least he could do, but they're far from sure it will be enough. On the record, they're trying to be upbeat. Hopefully, he's cleared the air so members and challengers can have this off the front pages of the paper. But other House Republicans remain panicked by the Foley scandal and wonder if the only way to really recover is to jettison Hastert. The Speaker told conservative activist Paul Weyrich that he'll do what's necessary.
If he thought that by resigning he would help the Republicans keep their majority, that he would do so.
Here's why it could come to that. With the election a month away, some internal Republican polls and House races across the country show what one strategist calls a significant receding of our numbers. And an Associated Press poll shows that about half of all likely voters consider the scandal in Congress an important factor in their votes next month. Most Republicans like Hastert, even while questioning his effectiveness. He's a former high school wrestling coach who became Speaker only reluctantly, dragged into the spotlight in 1998 when Newt Gingrich resigned the top job under fire.
I said I haven't done anything wrong, obviously.
Today, Hastert said he isn't going anywhere. He wanted to announce a bipartisan appointment of former FBI Director Louis Freeh to look into the Page program. Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi said no way. Investigate the Congress, not the Pages.
I mean, this is as serious as it gets, and the Republicans in Congress just didn't get it.
Well, they get it now, Katie. I think the only question left is just how they get out from under it.
And Gloria, we just heard from Nancy Pelosi. How hard are the Democrats working to exploit this scandal?
Well, first of all, Katie, I think they're sitting back. They don't want to get in the way of this Republican fight and this Republican story. But in districts all across the country, they are going to start running some ads talking about the Foley scandal. And they've also got all of these phone calls going out that are going to say that Republicans paid no attention to a sexual predator.
All right, Gloria Borger, thanks so much. While the political storm continues, every day it seems there's a new allegation, and the story gets sleazier and sleazier. Cheryl Atkinson has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Tonight, proof that as tawdry as any scandal may seem, there's always room for it to get worse. The atmosphere is so charged, House Majority Leader John Boehner apparently feels compelled to pass along even the rumor of bad conduct. In a letter to the House clerk, Boehner writes there are reports Foley was once caught drunk outside the House Page dorm, perhaps trying to get in. That from a fellow Republican. A former Foley staffer calls it nonsense. But just add it to the list of salacious allegations for members of the House Ethics Committee to sort out. Today they held an emergency session behind closed doors where they approved nearly 4 dozen subpoenas.
We pledge to you that our investigation will go wherever the evidence leads us.
The FBI is doing its own probe. Tyson Vivian has already had a visit. He says Foley sent him sexually charged instant messages, but only after he left the Page program.
Referencing genitalia, referencing specific acts between the two of us, things like that.
Since Vivian wasn't a minor, the FBI told him it didn't appear Foley had violated any laws in his case. The FBI also interviewed former Foley aide Kirk Fordham today. That's him on the right with his lawyer.
Kirk continues to believe strongly that all the facts of this need to come out.
Yesterday, Fordham claimed he told Republican leaders of Foley's Page proclivities not 1 but 3 years ago. Haster's office firmly denies it. And in case there's anyone left who hasn't talked to the FBI, there's a new hotline.
If you have information regarding former Congressman Mark Foley, please leave your information at the tone.
The House ethics investigation is supposed to take weeks, not months, but nobody is saying if it'll be done before the elections. Katie?
Thank you, Cheryl. The scandal that began a week ago with instant messages turned into an instant mess for the Republicans. For more about the political fallout, we turn now to Democratic strategist James Carville and Nicole Wallace. She's a former communications director for President Bush and now a political consultant for CBS News. Nicole, let me start with you. How badly have the Republicans been damaged by this going into the midterm elections, which are about a month away?
No doubt this is the last thing they want to be talking about 4 weeks before Election Day. But I think that what they're doing now and what you saw the Speaker do today was to say the buck stops here and really hope that the story begins to contract and that they can return to their key issues, national security and the economy.
James, do you think the Republicans can turn this around?
Well, I don't know. I can't imagine that they have anything going for them. I mean, in addition to this scandal, you have Bob Woodward's book, which talks about the incompetence surrounding the Iraq war. We have Senator Warner returning from Iraq today saying what a horrendous mess it is. Healthcare costs are escalating every day. The deficit is growing. So what they get through this, what are they going to turn to?
I know
not much place for them to go.
This is red meat for Democrats, but it's not as if the Democratic Party is scandal-free, James.
You can't blame the Democrats for this scandal. You can't blame the Democrats for the debacle in Iraq. You can't blame the Democrats for escalating health care costs. You can't blame the Democrats for not doing anything about energy independence. The truth of the matter is the Democrats are offering alternatives here, and that's a good thing.
Nicole, do you think this is going to get worse before it gets better? 3 separate investigations have been launched. It doesn't seem that this story is going to go away for Republicans anytime soon.
As long as there's new information coming out, you're right, the Republicans are likely to remain on the defensive. But look, if the Democrats take their cues from James and start pointing fingers and blaming Republicans without offering any ideas of their own, they're not going to stand to gain much anyway. So no doubt this is not a good development for Republicans. They are not enjoying this phase. They are eager to get back to the issues. But, the Democrats are not exactly leading at an opportunity when I think a lot of those are turning to Washington and saying, what's going on there?
All right. Well, Nicole Wallace, James Carville, thank you both so much. Now to another scandal. This one involves corporate leaks and spying at Hewlett-Packard. A woman who once headed that company now faces felony charges for allegedly orchestrating a scheme that involved identity theft and lying to get private information on board members and journalists. But before she was booked, she spoke exclusively with Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes. And Anthony Mason has the story.
All rise.
Patricia Dunn surrendered in San Jose today. The former chairman of the board of Hewlett-Packard is accused of leading a corporate spying campaign at one of the country's biggest computer companies.
One of our state's most venerable corporate institutions lost its way as its board sought to find out who leaked confidential company information to the press.
Dunn, who was subpoenaed to testify before Congress last week, is accused, along with 4 others, of lying to obtain personal phone records and other data about company directors, employees, and journalists.
Maybe someone will come in here while we're talking and put handcuffs on me. I don't know.
Dunn had just been indicted when she sat down last night for an exclusive interview with 60 Minutes' Leslie Stahl. Dunn said what she did was standard operating procedure.
If you think that Hewlett-Packard is the only company that has an investigations force, you're being naive. Every company has investigations. Investigations by their nature are intrusive.
But this was an investigation of your own board
to solve a serious problem.
In fact, Dunn wasn't the only Hewlett-Packard executive to authorize internal investigations. In her new book, ousted former CEO Carly Fiorina says she also went after people who leaked, but never went as far as Dunn.
I was shocked to hear about the depth and the range of some of those tactics, and shocked to hear that I might have been the subject of some of them.
Fiorina's own phone records reportedly were targeted by the company's investigators before she was fired last year. Hewlett-Packard's current CEO, Mark Hurd, has apologized for the spying. Katie?
All right, Anthony, thanks very much. And you can see more of Lesley Stahl's exclusive interview with Patricia Dunn this Sunday on 60 Minutes. Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice stepped up the pressure today on Iraq's new government with some in-person diplomacy, and that tops our news briefing tonight. On a surprise visit to Baghdad, Rice told the Iraqis to stop debating and work out differences between factions to stop the violence. The secretary had a rough ride into Baghdad. Her plane was delayed for a half hour because of mortar fire near the airport. A second death has now been linked to tainted spinach. A 2-year-old Idaho boy who died last month was infected with the same strain of E. coli bacteria that made nearly 200 people sick nationwide. And a California judge threw out child porn charges against John Mark Carr, who was briefly considered a suspect in the Colorado slaying of JonBenet Ramsey. California prosecutors admit they just didn't have enough evidence against Carr after losing vital computer files. For more on these and other stories, you can go to our website at cbsnews.com. And still ahead on the CBS Evening News, side airbags, a potentially life-saving story next.